Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. I'm Ryan Mink here with Garrett Downing, and we are thrilled to sit down with offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley, who's wearing an appropriate sweatshirt. This was going to be my first question: is the Ravens have turned into just a Notre Dame breeding ground here? Got Alohi Gilman now, you, Kyle, obviously. I mean, are you recruiting or something? What's going on here?
I just think they know the level of talent that Notre Dame produces, so smart franchise.
Okay. Now, I wrote a story about this, about how Alohi convinced Kyle to stay at Notre Dame. When Kyle was a freshman, Alohi was a senior. And Kyle went in and said, it was really hard. The camp, I guess, that you have off at Culver or something. He said it was really, really hard and adjusting from an Atlanta kid and all that. Did you have a similar experience? What was your freshman year at Notre Dame? Was that an adjustment?
Oh, yeah, big adjustment. And, just like Kyle said, that camp is no joke. Definitely old school, traditional style camp. I didn't contemplate leaving, but, I'm glad he stayed.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious, with Notre Dame, there is something to be said, it sounds cliche, but I really feel it it's true that you can tell Notre Dame guys, smart guys, you have a level of attention to detail. And
you went to Ohio, we know, not smart.
You can also tell. You can also tell a Bobcat. Guys. Yeah, you can tell them a mile away. Also smart. Same adjectives that we're going to use here. But what is it about Notre Dame, the program, the school, that you think is identifiable with NFL players?
I think it's just, holding that level of culture and tradition and playing for something bigger than yourself, bigger than money, and, for the guys that played before you and understanding, the history behind, the helmets you wear, the jerseys you wear, the campus you're walking on. And I think the same thing just goes with football, the history behind it and just understanding the importance of it.
It's interesting. I think a lot of times some of the things that you mentioned, they've probably become a little bit less important at the college game, just the way the college game has grown, NIL, and it seems much more transactional to a certain degree. And I think in the NFL, that's probably always been the case, that it's a business, and there's probably not, I think, as much pride necessarily about the helmet that you wear, or the jersey that's on the front, the name that's on the front of your jersey. But you have a lot of pride about playing for the Ravens, and hearing you talk about Notre Dame and knowing the pride that you have about playing for the Ravens, it stands out to me. Why do you have that pride, and why does that matter to you?
I just have a lot of respect for, the history of the team and the culture that the team has, the players that have come here before me and really set the tone of, what playing like a Raven really means. And, I always try to just, carry that forward and build on what players before me have done.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I mean, you were a free agent this past offseason, and there's a lot of talk about, all right, Ronnie could really kind of hit it big after the year that you had last season. And you end up working out a deal with the Ravens before you even hit the free agent market. Can you talk about why that was important to you, why you were like, you know what, I don't need to wait and see what I could get out there. I want to be here in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to be in Baltimore, but, I had to see how the numbers would work out and what the team could do. And but I definitely was always going to give Baltimore, the best, best price or whatever you want to call it, just because of the same things I was talking about before, just the loyalty to the team, the respect I have for the organization, for drafting me 6th overall. And, those things, they still mean something to me. And I'm not just, trying to get, nitpicking and trying to, get as many millions as possible. I still want to be paid to what I feel like I'm valued, but, I'm not trying to, break the team over.
Right. You're the longest tenured guy here at this point. I'm sure the fire to kind of finish what you all started, and, we all know how close we've been to getting to the Super Bowl. How much did that kind of burn inside you that you want to finish the job here? Yeah,
I mean, just us having a competitive team and the type of players that we have, that was probably the main driver of, me coming back is, the winning culture, the winning mindset, and, just the great vibes that we have in the locker room as well. We're a big family in there, and we all have the same mindset, and we're all working towards a unified goal.
Take me into the free agency process as much as you can. Are you talking to your agent every day? Are you talking to Harbaugh or EDC during the process? What was your process as you navigated that free agency, pre-free agency really, negotiating period?
Yeah, I was really just talking to my agent. I didn't talk to too much of the coaches or EDC personally, and maybe just a little bit like right after the season ended, exit meetings type stuff. But early on those negotiations, even during the season, we weren't talking about that stuff. We were just kind of focused, and that was fine with me. I just kind of focused on what's happening right now.
And then so you get to a point, and then you like, what's the phone call or the text or whatever it is when you say like, I'm good with this. This is the deal that I wanted. Let's just put it in ink. Like, what is that moment?
It's just like a weight lifted off your shoulders, and I don't mean that like, as it was like a burden or anything, but, it's just something that I didn't have to really think about anymore. And I knew where I was going to be for the next couple years. You don't have to think about if you have to move or not, how this is going to affect your family or things like that. So just all those extra thoughts, but when I did get that call, it was very relieving, very happy, and just grateful.
You mentioned getting drafted 6 overall. Like if you go back, when I think about back to that draft, and we're all talking about who it's going to be and what position it's going to be. And like, whenever you take an offensive lineman that high, like we all say the same thing, which is like the ideal scenario here is that the Ravens have found their left tackle for the next decade. Like that's what we all say. And like, that's easier said than done. It's easy to say it. It's hard to do it though. How much pride do you take in like basically making that come to fruition?
Yeah, I would definitely take a lot of pride in that. And that's part of the reason why I want to stay is because I do I take a lot of pride in being the left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens and, only the Baltimore Ravens, and, just kind of being the bookend that can be counted on. And, to be able to play that long is, a blessing. And it hasn't been all, great years, I had to miss some time, but to be able to get back to where I am now, I'm very proud of, everything I had to do.
Yeah, what did last season prove to you mentally, or do for you mentally, after you dealt with the ankle that sidelined you for really mostly 2 seasons, and then the knee, that bothered you the year prior, to come back last year, be healthy, and play at such a high level? What did that do for you as a player?
It just gave me another level of confidence, really, that, I had at once that just was kind of lost, but, and just belief in myself, that I could come back from something like that and still play at the level I had, because, I really haven't dealt with anything like that. I didn't miss a game in college. So to be able to, prove that to myself and play the whole season was happy for me.
You talk about kind of questioning that confidence when you were coming back from the injuries, and whether you could come back and ever be the player that you were before the injuries. How do you go about doing that?
It's just I think it's the way you deal with the process, and especially failure throughout the process, and not getting too down on yourself, and understanding that that's just part of it, and really just learning and growing from it, and not being your own worst enemy, and really just getting out of your own way, mentally.
How hard is that for you? Because you're a guy that, like, you're a thoughtful dude.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard for me. And I think early in my career, I was a lot more critical of myself, and maybe in a negative way, and just try to use that as motivation. But I think going through that, injury and trying to come back from it wasn't the best source of motivation, because it was a lot different path, coming from that. There was a lot more failures and negative things before I got to, where I'm at today. So just being able to weather those things and not let them get me down, and learn from the losses, and, just keep building.
You're a respected voice and leader on this team. Do you have conversations with younger players about the things that we're talking about, like how to harness, whether it's negative feedback and expectations and responsibility that you feel for yourself, like how you deal with all of the things that come with being an NFL player? Do you have those conversations? Do you feel like you need to have those conversations? What's your approach there?
Yeah, I feel like those conversations happen pretty organically, actually. We have some hangouts at my house every week, and those conversations come up. They come up sometimes in the meeting rooms, when we're just talking to. So I think it's important, to speak about those things to those guys, because you may not know what they might be going through.
Are you still hosting the O-line dinners?
Yep, we have it tonight.
Nice.
What's on the menu tonight?
Mexican.
We keep saying every time we do the podcast with Ronnie that we're going to get an invite, and Ronnie's like, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's in the mail.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep checking. Make sure you get the right address. One thing I want to know about with the offensive line, something I've noticed, and I don't know exactly when this started, at the end of practice, like they gotta drag you guys off the field. Like, you guys are hanging out there, working on extra stuff just as players for a long time after practice ends. And like, you're one of the lead guys out there, and it's always interesting to kind of watch that. How did that start, and what exactly are you guys working on during that time?
I mean, I like to get some drills in after practice. You know, I'll keep some of the young guys and start off with just me and Roger Rosengarten. And I would have him give me a look because, you know, he's a young guy, so I'd have him stay back. And then I would have some of the other rookies come, and then eventually, you know, the interior linemen. And we started, you know, just working on drills and really just slowing things down and working on the finer details of it all because, you know, during practice, everything is so sped up. You know, people are on timelines and want to get to what they need to get. So at the end, you try to slow things down and really just hone in on those little details.
I'm curious, as one of the longest tenured players here, you know, the losing streak that we went through earlier in the year, and you come into the season and there's so much talk about Super Bowl expectations and the hype, and this is the most talented roster, you know, in the league and all that stuff. And then when you go on a losing skid like that, how did you as a leader on this team see this team respond?
I saw us respond in a great way. I feel like, just like I said before about myself, like it'd be so easy to be negative and point fingers and blaming people. But I thought throughout, you know, those losses, all we did was work, and there's still good energy out there. Guys were still believing, still had confidence, and we knew how close we were to winning all those games. And, you know, it's really a lot of little things that we really could have fixed ourselves. So it's really just understanding that, not trying to make it in something that bigger than, you know, what the record seems, and really dive deep into why these things happen. And I felt like that focus really kept us together.
How much did you feel like, okay, I am a leader on this team, I need to say something? You know, like, is there a feeling of that, or, you know, did other guys do that or feel that? How did that how did the leaders rise up during that time?
I think we just made sure that, you know, our groups individually, like me as offensive line, and, you know, say Raquan has linebackers. I think just keeping our groups kind of, you know, focused and keeping everyone in the right headspace, and, you know, just focus on the task at hand, which is winning the next game, and not worrying about, you know, our record now. We still know we can win the Super Bowl if we win the next game. So I think that's just the focus.
So now you're out of the hole. You've won 3 straight games. How do you describe the mindset, the focus, the energy around the team at this point?
It's great. I think everyone's, you know, in a great mindset, and I don't think, you know, anyone's being complacent. I think we still have a lot of games that, you know, or a lot of parts of the games that we feel like we need to be better at. And, you know, it's always good to win, but we still feel like we need to get better.
I want to talk about some of the young offensive linemen. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the guards, you know, Andrew Vorhees and Daniel Faalele, and they're young players that are looking for that consistency that you've found over your career, right? And they take a lot of heat online. I think a lot of it's unjustified. And I want your perspective on this, because this is what I always tell people is, like, those two dudes, like, Nobody works like those two dudes. Like, every day you see it. I mean, I don't think they've missed a single practice. I don't think they've missed one since the season's, like, since practices started. Can you just talk about what you see with those young guys who, of course, they're looking to improve and keep growing, you know, but what you see from them? What's your perspective?
Yeah, like you said, just the level of effort that they put in every day and how much they want to get it right. And, you know, just like I said about myself, you know, there's going to be a lot of losses and bad times when you're trying to get to that consistent, you know, way of playing. And I feel like they're on their way right now. Like, they're just going through that process that everyone has to go through as a player, you know, to try to find, you know, the right way to get things done. And I think they're doing a really good job, and they're still growing as well, you know. So I'm very happy with what they're doing, and I'm going to keep pushing them. You know, they're going to keep pushing themselves, and we're just going to keep getting better.
How about Carson Vincent? They drafted this big old rookie with a little bit of a fiery kind of streak, the way he likes to play the games. And then the coaching staff showed their faith in him. I mean, he was active. He was on the game day roster last week. And so he was, you know, he could have gone in.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't want him to go in. Just
Carson can play. Carson can play. You know, he's proven that he can play in this league, and he's young and he's still figuring things out. But he has all the tools and, you know, the mindset, all the physical traits to be a pro in this league for a long time.
Yeah.
So this week you got the Cleveland Browns, and probably no tougher assignment than Myles Garrett on the other side. What's the challenge in going up against him specifically in that defense?
I mean, just the mixture of speed and power and agility, you know, that he brings that makes you just be disciplined. You have to be extra focused, and you know, the speed of your game has to be sped up.
Is he the toughest guy that you've ever had to block?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say, you know, has more of a full, you know, array of moves, speed, power than probably anyone I've gone against.
Ronnie, one thing that always stands out to me about you is like you're such a kind of calm, cool, and collected guy, but like you take a lot of pride in the things we talked about earlier, but also like being one of the best. Like that matters to you, and we've talked about this on this podcast before. But when you have an assignment, you're going up against one of the best guys in the game, like Myles Garrett. Like, are these matchups that like you get excited about, knowing the challenge? It's not going to be easy, but the challenge of going up against one of the premier players at his position.
Yeah, for sure. I look at it as an opportunity, you know, not only to test myself, but to prove myself and to myself. Really, I'm not really looking for any outside validation. I know, you know, that might sound bad, but I'm really just trying to be the best that I know I can be. And I think to do that, you have to go against people like this. You have to go against the best. So I'm very excited for the opportunity.
Are there any instances, games, moments blocking Myles Garrett that stand out to you? Any stories you can share with us?
I mean, I wouldn't say any that stand out. I mean, there have been a lot of games we played against each other, but not really one moment, I'd say. Yeah.
I feel like, does he ever give you like the respect that you deserve to?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. No doubt. Yeah, we have a great mutual respect. You know, it's always, you know, like an honor to play each other. You know, it's like two warriors, you know, going at it. So, and I feel like, I know, you know, he feels the same way. You know, we speak about it after every game.
Yeah. So, all right, last one for me is, one thing I've always wondered is like, what would happen if I tried to pass rush you or any offensive lineman, right? So give me 20 reps. Give me 20 reps. I'm lining up opposite you.
Yeah.
What happens on, do I get like any chance I get by you on one?
No.
Do I just get like, you shoved him into the dirt?
Right. Do I just get dirted every time?
You would just be like, just not doing anything. You'd just be standing still.
You just lock me up.
Yeah. As soon as you got to me, you wouldn't move. Probably.
If I started to like get anywhere, then you just face plant me. Is that, and then just pancake on top of me?
I mean, I wouldn't do that to you because I know you. So
one thing I actually, to your point, like I think one thing that people don't have a true appreciation of with offensive linemen at the NFL level is like, you guys are so big but fleet-footed, and like, how much do you work on footwork? Is that a big focus?
Yeah, especially in the off season. You know, that's a big thing that I do in the off season. You know, during the season, it's a little bit harder, but you try to still get that work in. You know, in individual when you're doing, you know, drills, and also in team when you have to, you know, make certain blocks. You know, but definitely focus.
Well, you got to work on that.
Who has a better shot between me and Garrett?
Oh, come on,
I don't know.
That's 2 L's.
Garrett's he's a little taller. He's got long arms.
He does have a little reach, but he's like, no. He's way bigger wuss.
Don't try to justify it. He just gave you the answer. Take your L, and we'll wrap up the interview.
Ronnie, thanks for sitting down with us.
No problem.
Welcome back into the lounge. We are coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We also want to mention our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Also, MarylandHomeownership.com is the place to do your homework before buying and selling a home. You'll find toolkits in English and Spanish, educational videos that explain the home buying and selling process, monthly webinars, and even local loan information by county. Get in the game with MarylandHomeownership.com. Visit today to begin your next home journey. So thank you to Ronnie for joining us. Obviously, he's a player who's been here a long time. Always like his perspective. I think that he's just somebody who, I think when you talk about leaders, he probably doesn't get mentioned enough. And that's something where I really think that he's grown into that role and embraces it. And younger players look up to him. I think he does a lot of things behind the scenes that people wouldn't know. The dinners at his house are a good example of that. Hosting the offensive line dinners that we're still waiting on the invitation for. Like those are a good example. Even like he talked about doing the stuff after practice. It starts with him and Roger Rosengarten. Suddenly everybody's doing it. Like those are the types of little leadership things that I think really matter and carry weight. And Ronnie is a good example of doing those things.
Not to mention just being a really good player. You know,
of course.
When the Ravens don't have Ronnie Stanley out there, it's a big deal. And so really glad he's been able to stay healthier the past couple years. And he and this offensive line are a big part of the equation for the Ravens moving forward, you know, to continue this surge that they're on. I think they need to run the ball better. You know, they need to be better in short yard situations. The offensive line is where it all starts. And I think that they have gotten better, and that's been part of the 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, the offensive line I know has been a source of focus and criticism at times this year. And Ronnie did miss some time. You know, he was dealing with an injury and was kind of on and off the field and had a tough time finishing some games. And so I think the bye was really helpful for him. He was like one of those guys at the top of my list, and like, who needs the bye? He was one of the top guys.
Yep.
And so I think that goes a long way. And I believe that this offensive line can continue to get better. I think continuity matters and health matters. And so it's good to have him more at full strength. Yep. But look, they're going to be tested this game. Like this game against the Browns is going to be a real test. We talked about Myles Garrett. He's the first guy you circle on the board, but even the scheme and the approach that they just bring to the equation, like they are an aggressive defensive front. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to shoot the gaps. Like they're going to try to live in the backfield.
Yep.
And the Ravens are going to have their hands full with that Jim Schwartz-led defense.
Yeah, and just stepping back a little bit, they're going to have their hands full, period. And it does start with the defense, but the Ravens have lost 3 of the last 4 games in Cleveland. And so I think a lot of people look at the Browns on paper and say, all right, you know, you should be able to beat the Browns. They've been at the bottom of the AFC North here for a little bit. But it has always been a slugfest with them. It almost always is, and especially in Cleveland, where they're a tough team, and it starts with the defense. They're number 2 in the league in total defense right now. It's one of the best units in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. And the fact that they're such a downhill attacking defense, to your point, with great talented players led by Myles Garrett, means that they can make life really hard on you if they get going. And if they start hitting with those blitzes and just living in your backfield, it can totally disrupt an offense. And so that's what the Ravens are fighting against.
There was a game earlier this year where Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in one game. 5 sacks in one game.
Ronnie Stanley does not plan on letting that happen.
I don't think he's going to have 5 in this game, but like whenever you're playing a team that I think on paper you say you should beat. Our friends at DraftKings say the Ravens are 8.5-point favorites in that game. Like, whenever you're playing in that kind of a game, a question to me is like, well, what would have to happen for you to drop the game?
Yeah.
And the recipe there is that Myles Garrett wrecks the game, forces turnovers.
Yep.
And like that is what would be the case, I think, if it doesn't go the way that the Ravens want. So you got to keep a lid on him and prevent him from creating havoc in the backfield. I actually think, like, generally speaking, when you go back through his career against the Ravens, they've done a really good job of having a plan for him and neutralizing him.
Yeah, this isn't the first time they faced Myles Garrett. Yeah. And so they know that. They've game planned against him. That doesn't mean it's always going to work. You know, he's a great player. He's going to make some plays. But I agree with you. I think generally they've done a good job. I mean, just last season, the viral clip of Myles Garrett telling Roger Rosengarten that he's not a nobody, you know, that kind of blew up. And I think generally speaking, they've done a good job. But it's kind of whenever you're playing against this Browns defense, it's like feast or famine. You know, because of how aggressive they are, you can gash them, but you have to catch them in that, and that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I think that. We talked earlier this week about Derrick Henry and having some big runs,
long
runs. And it goes to what you're saying. Like, it could go either way. If you pick the right gap and you get him in the backfield, like Derrick Henry could get stopped for no yards or lost yardage.
Yeah.
Or if they pick the wrong gap and he gets into the second level and finds green grass, he can take it to the house.
Yep.
And there's also the added element in this game, and I don't know how much this is a driving factor for Derrick Henry, but Grant Delpit has had some things to say about him over the past couple of years and made the comments earlier this season about how he's not hard to tackle and things like that. And so that's just an added wrinkle to a game that has plenty of motivation for the Ravens, but I think that's an added piece of the equation for Henry in this running game.
I'm going to go out, and last week I predicted a Malachi Starks interception.
So you want to say hot?
Second straight game.
Hot here?
I'm going to stay hot. I'm going to go with a 50-plus yard run by Derrick Henry.
50-plus?
50-plus.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Breaking a big one.
Okay, I'm a big fan
He's
of that.
due. He's due.
I think
and this is kind of the matchup.
Plus, like, I give you credit for actually going out on a limb here. Normally your move would be like, I'm going to go... It's going to be a big run, 21 yards. Like you would say something like that. So I give you credit for going big. All right.
Yeah. If he goes 49, I'm still taking credit. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. You'll try. You'll try. And then I think, I think that this game, it starts with the defense for the Browns, and they're the ones that's a really good unit.
Yeah.
The Browns' offense has struggled this year. They're on their second quarterback. Started the season with Joe Flacco. That game earlier this year in Baltimore was kind of the Joe Flacco reunion game.
Yep.
I feel like we're going to have deja vu here in 2 weeks when he comes back.
Potentially.
With the Bengals. But now it's Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is the backup. The Browns there's been questions at quarterback really all year for them, and they are sticking with Dylan Gabriel as the starting quarterback with Shedeur Sanders as the number 2. And so Gabriel it's kind of what you expect as a rookie, mid-round pick who's had some up and down moments and has struggled at times and has turned the ball over.
Not a lot, though. I think for a rookie quarterback, he's managed the game fairly well. He's thrown 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
So that's, on the surface, that's pretty good. He hasn't had any big games where he's lit it up. And I think he's kind of manage the game, don't make mistakes, let our defense win games. That's been, and run the ball, with Quinshon Judkins, their rookie. That is their formula. And, they've been in a lot of games with that formula. And so Dylan Gabriel, Kyle Hamilton kind of compared him to Tua Tagovailoa.
It's the lefty thing.
It's the lefty thing. I think that's definitely influencing that. But, also a quarterback is not known for really a huge arm, known more for accuracy than like making every throw on the field. And the Ravens have a challenge here against another young quarterback, and this is for the second straight week. Had J.J. McCarthy of the Vikings. I think that Dylan Gabriel's different from J.J. in that J.J. McCarthy kind of took some shots.
Yeah, definitely.
And he paid for those shots, but he was pretty aggressive in that game, and I don't expect Dylan Gabriel to operate the same way.
Well, the Browns schematically, just like from a philosophy standpoint, they want to be a team under Kevin Stefanski that establishes the run. That's kind of who they are. And you go back earlier this season, Quinshon Judkins played in that game against the Ravens, but it was his first go-round.
He's still got a heavy dose.
He did, but like he signed that week, and he was back on the practice. He got like 2 days of practice and then played in the game, and it was kind of surprising that he even suited up in the game.
Yep.
It's a different story now where he's the clear number 1 running back there. He's looked really good. He's a hard-running guy. He has big play potential, too. And so it's more, I think the ground game is more of a challenge. That presents more of a challenge in this game than it did earlier this season when Judkins was really just like learning his way around the building at that point when the Ravens faced him.
Yep, I agree with that. They're an interesting team in Jerry Jeudy, big play threat, but their leader in receiving yards so far has been rookie tight end Harold Fannin Jr., who he made a few plays here in Baltimore too earlier in the season. It's really their tight end duo. He and David Njoku are the guys you have to watch for them as receivers, along with Jeudy, of course.
David Njoku's gotten the Ravens at times in his career. He's had some big plays, and he's a problem. I actually go with the tight end on the other side of the ball. You want to go, since we're making predictions? We're in the prediction business.
Let's go.
Here? Okay. Mark Andrews, I think that he's had some big moments against the Browns in Cleveland.
Yes.
I think that continues. Double dip for him. Two touchdowns.
Does he be 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
Does he take the Triple Crown in this game? Most career touchdowns as a Raven, receiving yards, and catches.
Well, he's already a leader in touchdowns, so I feel good about that one. He's got that covered. He's 4 yards shy of breaking the record for the most receiving yards in franchise history. He needs 7 catches to break the record for most catches in franchise history. So, yes, I think he will. I think he will set the Triple Crown. And I think he will get 2 touchdowns in this game and have a big day for this Ravens offense in Cleveland.
I love that.
One of my lasting memories of Mark in Cleveland, there was a crazy play right before halftime
where
the Ravens had no business, honestly, having the ball. Browns kind of mismanaged the possession, gave the ball back to the Ravens, and then they marched quickly down the field, and Lamar threw a ridiculous pass to Mark in the back of the end zone. Back corner.
And he went up high.
Snagged it, and the game went from close 2 minutes before to all of a sudden the Ravens scored twice in the final 90 seconds of the half, and then it was basically game over at that point. So let's do that again. I think Mark is going to have 2 touchdowns and become the Ravens Triple Crown leader in the receiving categories.
I like the sound set. The other area I would point to is special teams. The Browns gave up 2 special teams touchdowns to the New York Jets last week in their loss to the Jets. Gave up one on a kick return and one on a punt return. The Ravens special teams has quietly been very strong for them this year. They have not yet gotten the touchdowns. So how about little Wester?
Should I go?
Touchdown? Should I make another prediction? Should I go?
Well, I mean, all of a sudden this game is putting up a lot of points. If all these things are coming to fruition, they already got 2 from Mark Andrews. They got a 50-yarder for.
I didn't say he was going to score though.
I mean, come on. I think you did say he was going to score.
I didn't say he was going to score. I said it was a 50-plus yarder.
He's going to have a 50-plus yard touchdown. And then Wester, that's a lot of points. So I like the sound of that, though.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sign me up.
So we'll see if those things come to fruition Sunday in Cleveland. 4:25 game. Not many Ravens Browns games in that late afternoon time slot for 2 East Coast teams. So that is the case this week. So make sure you check that game out. As always, you can email us at the lounge at ravens.nfl.net. One other quick note I want to mention. Coming up, the Ravens, of course, are playing on Thanksgiving. Which is going to be an exciting thing here. It's our Purple Rising game, and as part of that, we announced this week some exciting elements of our game entertainment. Lil Jon is going to perform at halftime.
Yeah! How was that? Was that okay?
That was okay.
not Lil Jon approved?
It was a good effort. I give you a good effort for that one. So really excited about having Lil Jon at halftime of that game. Also, Renee Elise Goldsberry, who played Angelica in Hamilton. I know you're a Hamilton fan, as am I. She was on the original cast of Hamilton. She is going to sing the national anthem.
I won't try to sing any of that.
Yeah, don't even attempt that. I'm going to save you from yourself. Don't embarrass yourself. But she is going to perform the national anthem for that game. Also, we're going to have the LED wristbands for that game, which just adds such a cool element for those night games. So really cool pieces of our game entertainment for that game coming up against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thanksgiving night. So you can get tickets to that. And of course, even before that, the Ravens play the Jets the Sunday before. So you can get tickets to both of those games at BaltimoreRavens.com/tickets or on SeatGeek. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. We'll be back with you again after that game Sunday against the Browns.